is Linda Wells, and I'm speaking tonight as part of Building a U.S. for All of Us, which is a national network of white anti-racist organizers who are specifically working to draw out from their circles in majority white communities in order to build multiracial alliances for economic and racial justice. And many of you who know Catalyst know that Catalyst has been a founding member of Building a U.S. for All of Us. And I'm a big fan of Catalyst and also an alum of the Braden program, so that's kind of how I'm here today. And I am going to talk specifically about the organizing that happened on leading up to July 29th between U.S. for All of Us and the Unitarian Universalist contingent that came down to Phoenix. And I'm going to talk about it, one, because it was this really powerful organizing moment, and two, because I think, especially for the work of U.S. for All of Us and the Catalyst Project, it's a great case study in doing multiracial alliance building, specifically reaching out to majority white communities to mobilize them for racial and economic justice. So I'm going to talk specifically about that one thing. So let's see. And for those of you who don't know what Unitarian Universalism is, it's a religion. I was raised UU myself, so I'm just going to abbreviate that from now on. UU stands for Unitarian Universalist, and it's a majority white religion, majority middle and upper class. It's very socially progressive. Social justice and social action are built into the model of the religion. And it also is a religion without a creed, so there's not like a prescribed ideology. It's like very much built around these somewhat humanitarian, very social justice-y principles. So that's a little background on them. The reason that they're in this story is because they played a big role in organizing on July 29th, and when I went down to Phoenix, was called on by Bo and Leah Joe and some others who were already down working in Phoenix, specifically with the goal of going to play a bridge between U.S. for All of Us and Catalyst and Puente with the Unitarian Universalists, who had announced that they were bringing in hundreds of people on July 29th. And with the goal of connecting those two and also encouraging the Unitarians who are coming in of playing as significant a role as they could to actually put their bodies on the line in action, and not just to come and then leave again. And to build that important relationship between U.S. for All of Us and the Unitarian Universalists, who have taken a lot of initiative lately in the fight for immigration justice. And so I'm just going to I'm going to give you a brief intro of what happened with Unitarians, and then I'm going to try to pull out a few key lessons learned as far as this is a case study. So basically what happened is on the 29th, as was shown in the video, groups in Phoenix, including Puente, called for others to join in Phoenix and across Arizona and Tucson as well in mass civil disobedience. So this was different than May 29th. May 29th there was a march where hundreds of thousands of people came in, and there was one centralized march. July 29th was to be something different. It was to be kind of less centralized, direct action, civil disobedience, a day of non-compliance. And so the Unitarians mobilized over 200 people to come in from out of town. And just to give you an idea of numbers, through Puente's online, through Alto Arizona's online sign-up, they had something around 100, I think, who signed up to come in from out of town. I think that's right. And so this was a significant chunk of people, right? This was like, of the outside groups coming in from out of town, this was going to be the biggest. And also was a group that had built some connections locally with Tonatiuh, but as far as a national direct linkage, we didn't know what was going to happen, right? And so what ended up happening is that about 40 or 50 Unitarians took arrest. They fundraised thousands of dollars for bail and to pay the fines of not just the Unitarians who were arrested, but also other activists and organizers. So they threw down tons of money. They put their bodies on the line. The UU Prez, Peter Morales, who's like he's like the Pope of the Unitarians, basically, so a really important figure, took arrest in a high-profile action, as well as the UU minister, Reverend Susan, in Phoenix. And so basically it was as far as building relationships with the Unitarians and for them contributing significantly on the 29th, it was a huge success. And so that's why we're talking about it right now. And so I'll say a few things, principles that or lessons that I'm taking from it. I also just have to say that, like, it was really powerful for me to see. I won't say a lot about that. I'll try to get through this. But, so one thing I would say with base building and building coalitions, and specifically, I'm just going to talk specifically about doing like mass organizing with majority white groups, you know, for multiracial alliances. It's like, but I think it applies to coalition building in general, one is to do the slow groundwork that's needed, and then also to recognize when we've got a moment and an opportunity to, as Marisa was saying, to like take action. It's like you do the work, you do the training, you do the education, and then there comes a time when it's just time to throw down, right? And I think that's a really, that's reflected both in how US for All of Us was formed, where you've got groups like Catalyst Project and Highlander Center and groups across the country that have been doing for years doing this. Really intentional, really slow political education, training, outreach, coalition building, you know, just this groundwork for building anti-racist bases within majority white sectors, right? And then they decided, you know, this is the year when it's actually going to be important for us to take action together, and it seems like immigration is going to be this thing that it's important for us to mobilize on, and that's kind of the story of how US for All of Us got formed. It was the same with UUs and July 29th. Unitarian Universalists and certain Unitarian Universalists and allies of Unitarian Universalists have been doing anti-racist trainings, internal work for, as far as I know, well, for a real long time. I mean, they had a huge role in the civil rights movement, but I mean, the recent wave, I think, started about 15 years ago, as far as my recollection of like this style of like anti-racist white trainings. But a moment came because the Unitarian Universalists, for the first time since I've been alive, had this centralized campaign called Standing on the Side of Love. And it started with the battle for gay marriage, which is a huge issue for Unitarians, and they were performing gay marriage and advocating for gay marriage, and there had been just a history of taking that on as an issue, and it became an actual centralized campaign of the religion that they were creating action tools and all of that for, and press kits and all of that for their congregations. With the election of our current president, immigration justice became the second centralized issue that Unitarians were going to work on. So that was part one in like creating this moment. And then another thing that happened is that our General Assembly, which is like the annual meeting of the religion, where they get together once a year to vote on bylaws because it's a democratically run religion. It's this huge, I mean, just thousands of people flooding one city convention that happens every year, and it is scheduled to happen in Phoenix in 2012, thank you.
Yeah.
And I don't want to talk too much about the decision to keep it there. There was kind of a struggle over whether to keep it there or whether to honor the boycott and move it somewhere else. And I wasn't that engaged with this whole process, so I don't want to spend a lot of time about that. But there was a question of whether to move it or keep it, and that raised a lot of awareness about within the religion, within the Unitarian Universalists, of what are we going to do about Phoenix, right? And so it became, for all those reasons, it became a moment for Unitarians.